Hey everybody, this is Tony DeLigio with Plastics Technology Magazine. I'm joined today by Mike and Dave Skaggs with MDS Manufacturing in St. Louis. It's a custom injection molder that was actually featured in the January issue of Plastics Technology Magazine as part of our on-site feature. With this video, we're just hoping to get a little more information from Mike and Dave on their operations, how they got started, and just a little more background to add to the print story. As we talked about in the story, you guys actually started in the industry working with your dad at a different molder. I didn't know if you wanted to start by talking about, how you got into the industry, maybe which one of you started first, or if you started at the same time, and just, how that initially started.
Dave's the oldest, so he started first. So
Okay.
I'll let him kind of give how we got into the business.
Well, yeah, I mean, when the last place we worked and spent a good portion of our career with used to make rubber bugs, and my dad would make me go on Christmas break, spring break, summer break. I'd go bag rubber bugs when I was 8, 9, 10 years old. So that's kind of how we got started in it, and we all enjoyed it. We were used to that kind of manufacturing and things like that. So that's kind of where we got our start.
Okay. At one point you go from maybe doing, obviously as a kid and doing work on breaks and over summer to doing this as you're older. At what point did you realize maybe this was going to be a career for you and something that you could do, make a living at?
Probably when my dad said it's time to go to work. Let's go.
Okay.
It was something that was always part of our lives. It was something that when we were at the previous place we were at, we were all friends. We all got along. It was kind of like a second family, and it directed us in that direction, and it was kind of like a pizza family, when you start making pizzas, your whole family gets into that business, So it's what we did. It's what we enjoyed. It was what we had learned our entire time growing up. So it was almost second nature.
Gotcha. No, definitely. And I know in speaking with you, Dave, that you mentioned that you both now today have children of your own that are involved in different ways with the business. I guess, what's that like? Do you apply anything you learned from working with your dad to working with your kids today, or how does that work?
Yeah, my son Tyler's here. Dave's daughter Julie's here. What we kind of did for him was we've always kind of told all of our sons and daughters that this is the when all else fails thing.
Sure.
Go out, live your life, chase your dreams. And if all else fails, you got the plastics business to fall back on. No. And they're all kind of taking that path. Julie has a degree from the University of Tennessee. Tyler attended the University of Mississippi. And they've all, had short careers prior to coming here and decided that they wanted to be a part of the family business. So we brought them in. They all know the rules that you start at the bottom and you have to learn every aspect of the business. And that's how you advance and move up. No shortcuts.
No, that makes sense. That's a good rule to have. How about for you guys as individuals? You've obviously been working together for a while now. In the day-to-day or as you approach business, is there ways that you split up the business? Are there areas one of you focus and the other does, or do you just kind of split evenly, or what does that look like?
Well, we kind of have it split. I'm more of a sales and
tooling, that kind of stuff, quoting, all of that. Yeah. And then I handle basically all the operations, purchasing, human resources, things like that.
Okay. No, it's a good strategy. I know in visiting with you guys, and we touched on in the story, we talked about how the silicone business had kind of ridden a really fast ship up and then kind of just almost evaporated. And That's not an uncommon story in injection molding, unfortunately, where molders will have a big customer kind of fall by the wayside sometimes suddenly, and not all of them are able to kind of reverse out of that and pivot to something different. If you guys could talk a little bit about how you guys were able to kind of withstand losing that business and kind of pivot to different things and keep MDS going.
Well, as we discussed in the article, our dad had always taught us that you don't want to pigeonhole yourself into one industry, and we tried really, really hard to follow that rule. When we first opened, we really only had one customer, and as we advanced through the years, uh, we had banks and everybody telling us, "Hey, you need to do your best you can to break that up and get a more diverse customer base and stuff like that." So we really spent a lot of time trying to diversify ourselves and stay into a lot of industries. And once we had achieved that, when we suffered the loss of the silicone business for the most part, it had really softened that blow. So we had more more stuff we could fall back on to cushion that loss, and it paid off for us. I mean, don't get me wrong, we missed the silicone business. We'd love to have it back, but it was something that we were able to absorb and move on and adjust our business strategy accordingly.
Yeah, no, definitely. Kind of evolve and adapt. I know, I guess kind of looking forward, when I visited you guys, you talked about looking at a bigger space and maybe a potential move coming in the future. If you want to talk about kind of looking forward, where you guys are at, and where things might stand with any kind of move, or just what's new with MDS.
Well, we're hoping that we get that done in 2022. We've kind of whittled it down to one or two spaces, and we're beginning negotiations probably the 1st of February on that. So we hope to get that done in about 90 to 120 days, and then start preparing electric and water and lighting, and by the end of next year be in the new facility is what we're hoping. So again, when we found this facility, it wasn't like we just went out and said, "Oh, well, there's a spot." It probably took 30, 40 buildings to go and see, and we really thought it was going to go a lot quicker than that, and it didn't. I really thought this one was going to go a lot quicker. I thought if you went out and looked for bigger space, you'd have better luck, and we just had no luck until about the last 3 months finding facilities. But then with the economy how it is and the prices of real estate, some of the prices are just, almost overwhelming. So,
Yeah.
and the last thing you want to do is overpay for real estate. And then 10 years from now, the building's only worth half of what you paid for it. So,
Yeah, no, definitely. It's an important decision. For you guys historically being in St. Louis, and it sounds like you'll be able to stay in the St. Louis area. I don't know if you could kind of characterize the molding business in St. Louis. I mean, I know a lot of our readers are based in kind of more traditional molding locations, but it sounds like St. Louis kind of actually has a pretty rich history with the industry.
It does, and all of us know each other here. I mean, from the Semcos to the Kohler Crafts to the LMCs, all of those families, we all know each other. I was the president of the Society of Plastics Engineers back in the late 80s to early 90s. So those are all still great connections. All those we all talk, we all know each other. So and we use each other to bounce things off of a lot of times. And when we first started here, I went to all kinds of the molders here in St. Louis and met with a lot of the presidents or CEOs and all offered their support and guidance and whatever they could do.
Okay. Excellent. No, it's a good network to kind of have for sure.
Right. No, it was awesome. The Society of Plastics Engineers, which those things have gone away now for the most part anyway, which is too bad for the younger generation, because I learned a lot and met a lot of people that I've worked with while starting MDS with Mike and all of those kind of things.
Yeah, no, definitely. Mine maybe as a final question, it's obviously been challenging the last couple of years with the pandemic. I know actually in some ways it was, you guys were never shut down throughout it and were able to keep going. But kind of as you look going forward, are there any things that it changed that you think will stick around that are good or bad or otherwise? And, are you seeing kind of light at the end of the tunnel in terms of, I guess especially the supply chain kind of issues that maybe have affected it, or staffing, I think is another area that was really difficult with the pandemic.
Well, one thing I'd love to see come back would be the domestic tooling market. And by that, I mean, I wish there were more tool and die makers located in the States. I know they can compete with the guys overseas. I just wish there were more of them out there. I've seen it's hard to find a good local tool maker in the States. They're out there. They're just not as easy to find anymore as they used to be. We really rely heavily on tool makers for new tools, modifications, repairs, anything like that. We have a small tool shop here that we do some of that, but the bottom line is, we're molders, and we'd love to have more tool makers here in the States. Hopefully, with the cost of steel coming down and stuff like that lately, maybe it can rebound a little bit. But that's something that we feel can be competitive and help our industry. I know for a fact we can compete with China and the overseas molders because we're doing it every day. Sometimes the profits aren't what you'd love to have, but you keep your nose down and be a good customer, and over the long term, you secure that customer, and then you've brought an industry back to prevalence that was the strongest in the world at one point in time. So
definitely, well, that makes sense. And in terms of staffing, I know even before the pandemic, molders I spoke with had a hard time at certain levels keeping jobs filled or finding folks. Do you see any kind of relief there, or as we hopefully come out of the pandemic? Does that look any better, different?
It looks different, just because of the pay rates and the pay scales and things that people are expecting now. Mike and I had that same conversation this morning, that we're really going to have to look at that as we get rolling this year. But I mean, we're pretty lucky. We've got a pretty secure workforce. We really haven't seen the bounce in and bounce out that a lot of places see, but that's because we keep it small. We use a lot of robotics. We use a lot of end of arm type stuff, and we don't use as many people as others do. And we're gonna pivot more to that direction too. Okay. Yeah, we still want our 8, 10, 12 people to a shift, but we'd love to get it to where we can do that with double the machinery that we're doing. And sure. That's the way of the future. You're going to have to get away from so much people reliable type situations.
Gotcha. Yeah. Excellent. Well, Mike and Dave Skaggs with MDS Manufacturing want to thank you guys for the time today, and thank you for letting Plastics Technology into your shop for the on-site. We appreciate it, and good luck in 2022.
Thanks, Tony. We appreciate the coverage you've given us. It's much appreciated.